Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go. First story. Guy breaks into my car, dies, and somehow it's my fault. I live in the US, but I'm an immigrant from the Philippines. This happened 4 or 5 years ago when I went back home alone for a month-long vacation. I rented a house with no parking spot for a month, and my cousin let me borrow her rarely used car that I had to park on the street. I was only there for a month, so I was almost always out and about meeting friends and relatives to make the most of my stay. One day at noon, I walked out to the car to find the door open, and a strange guy sprawled over the driver's and front seat. Puke spread all over the dashboard and what looked like severe nosebleed. I was angry at first, but when I realized the guy had no pulse and was not breathing, I administered first aid and called an ambulance and the cops. I also needed to call a mechanic because the car battery was dead. I later found out that the car alarm went off until the battery died. I slept through the alarm. I'm a heavy sleeper. So I had a trashed car to wash, a battery to replace, and a police office to visit. Fun. The guy was pronounced dead upon arrival, and initial findings suspected illicit drug use. The cops suspected the guy to be a junkie trying to steal the car, but had overdosed in the middle of it. Apparently, the place I rented was surrounded by slums and known as a hive for illicit drugs use/sales. A sad story to be sure. This being the Philippines, I was averse to pressing charges. Slow as hell justice system, and who would I even press charges against? And at that point I kinda felt bad for the guy and I just chalked it all up as a bad experience. 4 days later at around 8 p.m. an older couple claiming to be the parents of the guy who died, with several attendants, basically community police, came for a visit. At first I thought they were there to apologize or make amends on behalf of their son, but lo and behold, they were asking me for money. I was irritated at first, but then I thought money must really be tight, so I tried to be understanding and polite. But it was still a firm no. I understand that a guy died, but it was through no fault of my own. After all hell broke loose. The previously calm mother cried as loudly as possible and tried to scratch me. The father tried to grab my shirt and wanted to punch me. Thankfully, the attendants were impartial and herded them away from me. All the while they were insinuating I had something to do with their son dying. I was a bit shaken and genuinely just wanted to get away from there. But I made the mistake of putting that off until the next day. At around midnight, I was awoken to the sound of breaking glass and metal being pounded. They made enough of a racket to wake me up. About 4 or 5 guys were destroying the car and spewing all the profanities they could muster. I called the cops and went to stay at my cousin's place. In the end, I had to stay 2 weeks more than I planned. I helped the cops try to investigate my case and paid for the damage incurred on the car. To add insult to injury, I never got my deposit on the house rental back. The house wasn't even damaged or anything. The end of the investigation resulted in 3 people caught for destruction of property and grave coercion. Aside from profanities, they were also threatening me to pay up. Thank goodness the rental had a sturdy fence. A neighbor also presented themselves as a witness. Last I heard, they also had prior offenses that got stacked on top of my case. But the parents were not charged. A week ago now, I left my mother's house because she was abusive to me after stuff escalated. All I was able to grab was a couple rucksacks worth of stuff, like my charger, my culture studies folder, some clothes and my baby's folder. I'm 12 weeks pregnant, yay. So I didn't grab much, and in the heat of the moment, I forgot the really important stuff like my birth certificate and my laptop, along with the rest of my folders for my course. I wasn't too bothered though, because my partner and I planned to go back a few days later to grab some more bits. We had it all planned out, down to a list of exactly what I wanted and needed, including a few items of massive sentimental meaning, like my necklace with my dog's tag. whom I lost last year. Well, we get to mom's house, knock on the door, and this is what follows. So the entitled mother opens the door and I tell her, I'm here to get some of my stuff, can I please come in? We won't be long. And she tells me wait there. She shuts and locks the front door. We then hear nothing until she comes back to the front door after like 5 minutes and she chucks a massive bag out of the door, shuts it again and locks it. I look in the bag quickly, realize there is nothing but flea-infested clothes in there, and literally nothing of use to me, like my laptop or any of my files. Now I need these because my university starts up again in about 2 weeks. So I knock on the door again. Mom, can you let me in please? I need my laptop for university, you know this. It starts in a couple of weeks. Not until you bring my Sky cable back. Mom, you either let me in to get my stuff or I'm calling the police. I don't even have your Sky cable. It's my cable for my PlayStation. I need my laptop for university. Whatever, call the police. You're not getting your laptop until I have my cable. I turn to my partner and I say, right, well, call the police, babe. On it. My partner called the police and explained the situation. What follows is a long process that I won't get too into since it's still active, but the police obviously had to speak to mom. And one of her conditions for me getting my stuff was, you guessed it, her cable. The cable in question is not actually a Sky cable. Those have a round plug and blue adapter. The cable I have has a square plug and black adapter. It's the cable I got when I bought my PlayStation 4 years ago. It costs almost £5 on Amazon for crying out loud. And is no comparison to a laptop worth over £100 with over 2 years of my coursework and other stuff on it. But at the end of the day, mom's gonna win this battle because the civil claims court is so much more expensive and all I want is my laptop back. I just hope mom's aware that the police have all had a good laugh at her expense. And at the end of the day, I walk out as a winner. She loses so much more than what I do. Just sucks my own mother's entitlement trumped the supposed love she had for her daughter. Update, I went over to mom's and got most of my stuff, including my laptop. There is a couple of things missing like my laptop charger and PS4 controller, but I'm working on getting those back as well. I am going no contact with my mom. It's the best thing for anyone, I think. And yes, she got her cable back. Next story. Entitled Kid Tried to Steal My Puppy. For context, this just happened and I'm still shaking about it. I have an 11-week-old purebred corgi with his tail still attached. Tail docking is still legal in the US. I am not an advocate unless deemed necessary. He has been my bread and butter through some tough times. I would gladly take a bullet for him to get those kisses. He doesn't have all of his shots yet and he needs a lot of exercise. I live in an apartment without a yard, so I walk around my building a few times without a leash since he never leaves my side. This time I had him on a leash and we walked to collect the business mail. This was his first time exploring out this far. I wanted to make sure he was kept close and out of the way. On the way to the leasing office, I didn't see anyone around and he was having a ball exploring the new places. When we made it to the parcel pending place, a package hub for tenants, I collected my package and started the trip home. A family drives up in shimming gear for the pool. I thought nothing of it. I picked up my puppy to carry him with my package in the other arm. And immediately the kid rushes to me and the pup. He couldn't be more than 4 or 5 years old. I lifted my dog to try and stop the kid and explained, please keep your distance. There is a pandemic and my puppy needs space to keep him safe. The kid didn't listen and approached closer. I yelled out louder, no, back up, to where the mom heard me this time. The mom rushed her way over demanding I apologize for yelling at this boy and let her son pet my husky puppy. I corrected her that my pup is a corgi who hasn't had his boosters and to keep him safe to please back up. I just wanted to go home. This mom got all up in my face and tried to yank the pup away from my arm. I could hear him yapping in fear, so I had a knee-jerk reaction to pull him closer and turn around. Back off, you're scaring him. If you get any closer, I will use defensive force to protect myself and my puppy. You and your child need to back off and leave me alone. The mom went into hysterics, and the kid started crying. The boy tried to reach up and grab his tail and pulled. He was yanked through my arm and dropped to the ground. I screamed as loud as I could as both of them tried to pick him up. I panicked with my keys and sprayed the mother with pepper spray. They both started screaming their heads off. I picked up my puppy and ran home. I did a check on my puppy and he's shaken up quite a bit. I changed my clothes and held him close to soothe him, and I plan to only keep him outside around the building from now on. Edit. Here is some clarification on some things. I was raised in the military and surrounded by the cops. They taught me if I wanted to attack, to warn them first loudly that I will use defensive measures so anyone else can hear that may be nearby. I am not one for violence. After being attacked in the public several times, that's why I keep either pepper spray or a taser. As for leashing, I will keep him on a leash on his walks around the complex now. My complex is usually not this active and only lets him out on the lowest activity times throughout the day. I was told not to let him near anyone that is a stranger and not to let him walk in public stores until he has another booster. This was his only time being out this way. He was leashed in this instance, especially while carrying him. As for fear of parvo, I do have a vet appointment coming up to give him his boosters and a checkup. Update. For starters, the puppy is okay, no spinal damage, no tail damage, and he's still worried about going outside, but is back to his hyper and playful self. He even plays with our other dog. I also gave him everyone's hugs and kisses as requested. The complex was able to find the footage of the incident. It's in a report and they are looking for the crazy lady. I do have an attorney on standby just in case. My puppy has booties for future outdoors to protect his feet from the hot asphalt when he's ready to go out on our next walks. Leash is staying on from now on. He's still herding me to his treat jar and his toys to play. Now allow me to answer a few questions from the previous thread. The puppy still has his tail because in the US, it's still a common procedure. I am not an advocate for it unless it's deemed necessary from injury, far more a birth defecate. A lot of people say he is a cardigan Welsh. His paperwork shows he's a 3-color Pembroke Welsh. It's very uncommon that Pembrokes have tails, but not impossible, at least per what the vid says. I was getting a lot of comments about keeping him on a leash. He was on a leash at the time, and while I was carrying him. I will, however, keep him on a leash for our normal outings. He has a lot of socialization with others. I will slowly socialize him with a more loving child that I personally know. My nephew, he will also get his boosters this upcoming week. I do hope the entitled mother learned her lesson on trying to steal someone else's dog. Probably not, but I am hopeful. I also hope the entitled kid is okay. I know he's a child and was excited to see a puppy like most are. Maybe now he'll learn there are consequences for their actions. Who knows if someone will be more forceful when they say no. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.